with this with, like... First of all, let me turn the music down even more. I think that's good. I think that's a good volume for the music. Like there. That should be good. Okay. Let me just resize this such that it fits the tier list and not like a whole bunch of meat and potatoes of ads. That should be fine. I don't feel like installing an ad blocker for this. Let's go to YouTube. I'm out of water already. That's pretty cool. Let's see here. Okay. Now let me click onto my own stream so that I can see my chat, because I really don't know how else to do it. I don't have any fancy overlays or anything. Surely resizing my window won't destroy everything, right? Shockingly, not really. I can just do that. Okay. That's helpful. I do think the music is still a little bit loud for my intents and purposes. I can just do that though, I think. That should suffice. Alright. Let me just go ahead and send that in here too. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. So, how I'm going to go about this is I'm going to rank all of these tiers basically how Tint did it. That being, I'm going to rate them on how important I think they are for like a person's skill progression in this game as it is right now. But I'm also going to rank them based on like how good the levels that I know of in the tiers are. I think that both of those are kind of pretty important too. Well, I mean, they're kind of the only substance that the tiers have, really. Like, you could rank them on the basis of how good you think the difficulty itself is, like, in general. But I don't feel like there's a good meter for that. It kind of depends on where your skill set lies. Like, obviously, right now I would be privy to rank, like, Insane Demon difficulty higher on the basis of my own playing experience, and in terms of, like, potential for how good the gameplay can be, this would be, like, a very top to bottom tier list where 39 would be situated in S and 1 would be situated in F, because I mean, those difficulty, like the higher the difficulty, the more liberty you can assume in the stuff that you put in your gameplay, and I just feel like there's some significance to that. But I don't know. That's how I'm going to be going about it, is the goodness of the levels in each tier, as well as how important I find the tiers to be to a person's skill progression in the game, like just an average player. Now, I'm also going to be going to hopefully make this a little bit less redundant. I'm gonna sort of do like an inward motion as far as the order I rank these in. So like I'll rank 1 first, then 39, then 2, then 38, and I'll work my way down to the middle, being 20. Now, Tint had an opinion about 20 that I don't really agree with very much, like at all. But we will get to that opinion in time. But that time is for the end of this ranking. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna get started with maybe the hottest of my takes. I scrolled by accident. Oops. I think tier 1 goes in F tier. I know what I said about, like, I might be treating 1 too harshly. I think I'll put it in D. It's definitely going in D, though. It's just not a high enough difficulty to, like, liberate a creator in doing much of anything with it. Like, if you get a tier 1 easy demon, it's basically rated that by being rated demon by accident. Like, every tier 1 is kind of actually a 7 or 8 star in difficulty, and I just don't feel like that's a degree of difficulty that makes way for very many opportunities to do things. And the only way that you can really go about making something out of that is by making like a puzzle of sorts. Like, Experiment by Embed is kind of like the best tier 1 level in the game, and there really isn't. I'd say this is like the only tier where there's really no argument for like the best level in its tier, and it's just because it figures out how to work with this difficulty in the right way, and that's by kind of making like a 2-attempt ordeal out of it. Because this is the kind of tier, like, it's just the right difficulty where it's not a bad idea to like hop into practice mode for it. But because it's like 7 or 8 star difficulty, the only advantage to going into practice mode and the only reason to do it is so that you don't have to sight read in normal mode. There isn't really like much of any learning curve to tier 1s, and so the only way that you can really make them good is by like forcing a learning curve, incentivizing people to think about your level by making a puzzle out of it, by like forcing it to be interesting in ways other than core gameplay, I suppose. But that's my opinion on this tier. I will also say, as a fair warning, that easy demons are, in my opinion, the worst demon difficulty. But that's kind of its own thing. Tier 2, these are more like 9 stars, and I think 9 stars give you a little bit more of a window. And I also think a tier 2 is a better first demon for skill progression, so I think I'll put this in C tier. Like, a tier 2, honestly, the best way to make like a unique tier 2 is just by making it so long ago that you have an opportunity to make sense of some new mechanic. I mostly say that with like Hex Tech Flow in mind by Darnock. That's kind of the only way that you can really go about making something special out of this tier is by making something gimmicky, I think. Like, just making smooth and steady gameplay isn't going to be enough to make good, solid gameplay. But I think that this is the first tier where demon levels actually deserve a demon rating. And I think it's the first tier that is kind of supportive of being a stepping stone in a player's development. I think it's a fine place to start. With that said, I do think tier 3 is a much better place to start. I think as far as easy demon difficulties go, this is the best one for like skill progression's sake. I mean, there are a lot of just important levels that are tier 3. I mean, club step is the obvious one. I would say that it's very important to, I don't know, at least beat club step at some point. But a lot of other very popular and good demon levels are also up there, like Change of Scene, Endeavor, White Space are all tier 3s that are very, very popular and very, very celebrated by the community. But there are a lot of other ones that I think are really good that would also make for pretty good first demons. Like I think of Life Spirits by Quasari Ice Cube. Club Step is pretty good. There are a lot of Neptune like V2 levels that are tier 3s that I think are good. Like I believe Clutterfunk V2 is a tier 3, and I remember liking that level. Yeah, there was another tier 2 that I had, or tier 3 that I had in the back of my mind that I wanted to bring up in this video, but I'm forgetting about it right now, and that's kind of annoying. Especially because it is a really good level that I really want to recommend to people. I'll think of it later, I'm sure. But yeah, with that said, I do think that this is by far the most important Easy Demon tier in the sense that I would highly recommend it as like a starting point for beating demons. You don't really have much of a reason to play tier 1s, and a lot of the tier 2s in the game are unfortunately just kind of worse than a lot of tier 3s in the game right now. In the sense that tier 3 is kind of just good enough to be able to make a significant and unique experience out of your level. It's kind of the point that I think of as like the start to being able to do cool stuff with your gameplay without just exploring a gimmick for as long as it takes to kill it and then ending your level. But yeah, I will be putting it in A tier for that reason. That reason being that it is very, very important to progression. With that said, tier 4 also going in C tier, and I think it will go below tier 2. Just on the basis of... No, I'm putting it in D tier above tier 1, actually. It's just not really a significant spot for levels, in my opinion. I don't know. Like, a lot of the good tier 4s out there, like Decode is a very popular one that I think is a very good level. A much less popular one that's rated a medium demon but shouldn't be is Living Will. I like that level a lot. But once again, that kind of falls into the easy demon problem that I have, where it makes its gameplay good by beating a gimmick to death and then ending the level. and having a very long and uneventful pre-drop also, but I kind of find it easy to pardon that level because it explores its gimmick in a very cool and effective way. Popular levels of this tier. I know Moonflowers is pretty popular, just like almost every Reply level. For good reason. I think Reply is a really good creator. But Ruta del Sol is another very popular one. Decode is popular. I already mentioned that one. There's some really old level that I'm not thinking of right now that's very popular that I will probably think of soon. Death Moon is not the level I was thinking of, but I think that's also a tier 4 that's also very popular and very good. But I don't know. It kind of takes a level being like a core level to the development of this community for it to be a very memorable thing in this tier, I feel. And that's not necessarily the fault of like the creators behind them or anything. It's just like a very arbitrary level of difficulty where I kind of think that the difficulty immediately above it and the difficulty immediately below it are better for progression, and I think that the difficulty above it is just going to be better on the basis of allowing for more unique things. I'm just gonna look. I might be stupid. I think I am just stupid. I wasn't thinking of anything, apparently, but oh well. With that said, tier 5 is going in C tier above tier 2. Suppose the most important level of this tier would be Deadlocked. And I do believe that Deadlocked belongs here. I do think it's harder than both of the other Rob Top demons, but that's a discussion for another day. Yeah, I think there are quite a few really cool levels in this tier, actually. I think of Funny Thing by 82 Wyatt. That's a really good level that I really want to play someday. Here We Are is another good one. It has gameplay coming from both directions, and I think that's a really cool gimmick to explore in a level that I feel should be a high-end easy demon, even though it's rated medium demon. Against my approval. But oh well. Those ratings really don't matter too much. Not on a lower level. But yeah, there are just cooler levels that belong to this tier, in my opinion. Like, it's an alkali level, I think. I know Space Invaders is also in this tier, actually. I'm not a big fan of that level, but I remember it being one of the first mythic levels. I don't know. There are a lot of cool things in this tier that I wish got more recognition. I think Ivy Teal made a couple of levels in this tier that I like a lot. I know Light Wave is one of them. I like Ivy Teal's levels in general, though. I think that she's a really cool creator. Um, but yeah, I kind of just think that this is kind of like the easy demon tier that has the best levels to it. Just it happens to not be the best one for like skill progression. But oh well. Tier 6 I think is going to go above tier 3 in A tier. I think that this is a very important tier for progression. I mean, obviously a lot of people jump to B in this tier, which I guess is fair, but that aside, I know I've seen quite a few people go for Can't Let Volk for their first medium demon, and I think that's an okay choice. I went for a tier 6 for my first medium demon in a level called Gringus, which is Wintop's only rated level to this day, and the only level on his account, I think. But that's a very, very, very good level that if you want to go for something like on the high end of what could be a reasonable first demon, highly recommend that level and this tier in general. I think that this is a very good tier to build skill on because I think after this tier, I didn't really like. I think this is the tier that I gathered the most from until I got to like hard demons, other than maybe one, and that's just because I picked a really bad level for. Well, not a really bad level, a level that I just really didn't like for one tier that I spent a long ass time on and kind of had to get better because I was stuck on it. But what other levels are tier 6? I know Way of the Darkness is tier 6, and I enjoyed that level despite playing it on a fucking trackpad. Satellites by Para is tier 6, methinks, and that's a good level. Saturn 5 by Nazgub. Um, I don't know if WannaCry is tier 6, the mythic level, but I mean, if it is, there's that one. I don't like that level, but a lot of people seems to. Um, I don't know. I'm really struggling to think of levels today, but that's okay. Um, yeah, I think that this is kind of the best tier so far, as far as levels, especially, but also just I think it's like equal in importance to tier 3. I forgot about Lonely Travel completely. I completely forgot about Lonely Travel. Yeah, I think honestly, if you want to go for like a really hard east or really hard first demon, at least hard for like first demon standards, then Lonely Travel is a very good pick. I think that level is really good for progression in general. I think that this tier is the best one so far. Tier 7 has a couple of very, very good levels, and I do agree with you putting it in S tier, but I don't find it to be nearly as important for progression as tier 6. Um, with that said, I do think it at least deserves to be above tier 5. I think I'll put it like bottom of B tier. The first tier 7 that comes to mind for me is Double Fireball. I love that level. Arguably my favorite medium demon still. Um, I think that level was the one that really changed my mind on medium demons being like a good level of difficulty to explore for gameplay. Um, Other ones that I like are ID by Ivy Teal. I believe Clubstep V2 was a tier 7. Clear My Path by Maxerman is tier 7. I really like Maxerman levels in general, but I do think that one's worth mentioning still. Um, I think Cement by Heather Hayes was also tier 7. I like that level a lot, even if it is very, very weird. Cement is not tier 7. What difficulty is it then? Or it might be tier 7, actually. I just was on the second page of the website, apparently. And that's on me. Let's see here. Cement is a tier 7. I really like that level. I think it's a really good level. Let's see here, what other levels are tier 7 that are really good? Oh yeah, I don't necessarily think it's a good level, but apparently Ripple's Adventures is a tier 7. I thought it was a tier 6. I actually kind of enjoyed that level in the map packs. I think that one was like kind of the redeeming quality of its map pack for me. But I don't know. There are a lot of good levels in this tier that I think make it worth something. I think Extreme Park is in this tier, actually. I can check. I probably should just keep this website open while I make this, actually. Extreme Park is tier 7. I think that's another good and historically important level that I like. But yeah, I think tier 7 stays in B tier. And I think tier 8 will sit at the top of C tier for right now. There are a few really, really good levels in tier 8. I just think tier 8 to be like one of the most completely unnecessary tiers for skill progression. But I mean, it has levels like Blue Screen, Shiver, the greatest level ever, Hot Dog Redux, that I'm really happy I played for a new hardest whenever I did it. One Last Woe is in this tier, and I like that level a lot. I think Speak You is also in this tier, and that level is pretty cool in its own way to me. Speak You is in this tier. Let's see here, what else? I already mentioned Shiver. I'm talking about the Deanid level when I say Shiver, the one that like looks like it does like 2.2 split screen effects. Electrodynamics V2 is in tier 7. That is a good medium demon to do if you want to do only one medium demon. Clubset V2 is also a good medium demon for that same cause. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard. There are a lot of good levels in like every tier, but ranking these relatively by like their importance and things of that sort is kind of a hurdle. Hell by Serpunge is also a tier 8. And so is Scarlet Devil, which is like a Scarlet Surge remake that's supposed to actually be demon and not like a Crimson Clutter style one. Hexagon Force V2 is also in tier 8. I also like that level. That was honestly in contention for my favorite Neptune remake. I thought it did like really cool and wonky stuff that got surprisingly consistent. And I say that having beat the level in a very weird and wrong way where I like jumped off the corner of a block that I was not supposed to jump off of. But yeah, I think tier 8 is gonna stay in C still. Tier 9, I have complicated feelings about tier 9, honestly. Like, there are some cool levels in tier 9, but I feel like it's kind of just like a pretty arbitrary tier, honestly. Like, there's nothing really wrong with the tier per se. It's just like, I don't know, there's no real reason to play it for the sake of progression. I feel like it's better to just go to like tier 10 or 11 than play in tier 9. With that said, I like Industrial Clash a lot. That's a tier 9. I had at least 2 more levels in mind that I'm sure I'll think of soon. for tier 9. Yeah, tier 9 is rough for me. 3Q, that's another level that I had in mind that I just completely forgot about. And I believe the other was Chimichanga, which I seem to not be able to find right now. If it got, like, promoted to a different tier, then that really hurts this tier for me. It did not. It's still a tier 9. It's just, for some reason, a lot lower. Yeah, tier 9 is going solidly in the top of D for right now. And tier 10 is not gonna score a whole lot higher for me. I think that tier 10 is at least better than tier 9 in terms of, like, the importance of it as a difficulty for like, your development as a player. And there are some really cool levels in this tier, like Violent Roses and The Only One are two really cool levels that I like a lot. Tower Descent is also in this tier. I like that level. If you want, like, a stupid easy first hard demon that really shouldn't be a hard demon at all, I'd highly recommend that one. But yeah, I don't know. There's just not much of a reason to play in this tier for the sake of, like, solid development, I guess. I kind of feel like once you play, like, a first demon in, like, a tier sandwiched between tiers 3 and 6, you kind of learn how to, like, play a demon and how to practice well enough to kind of be able to go to a hard demon after that if you really want to. And that kind of arbitrates a lot of medium demons for the sake of progression. But I do still think that the levels in, like, the tiers for medium demons are better than the levels in the tiers for easy demons. I think 10 is gonna, like, tier 10 is going to stay as, like, the bottom of my C tier until the end of the tier list. Like, I think this is going to stay here. And Resurrection. I forgot about Resurrection. That's another really good tier 10. Collaboration is a shit level, but it's a pretty important tier 10, and I think that it's, like, good nerve control practice if that's something that you need for the sake of getting better, because Sari's ending part is significantly harder than everything else, and that makes for a unique stress test that really kind of helps you be more tolerant to bad balancing. But that's kind of one level being good for your development and not a tier. So I really don't feel like bumping it up on that basis alone. Tier 11 is kind of important. Tier 11 is, like, important in my mind for the same reason that tier 7 is. But the problem is, like tier 7, there is just a tier that's better for development, I feel. But tier 11 has, like, a shit ton of popular levels in it. Like, 9 Circles is in tier 11. Chaotic Hell, which is what I beat for my first tier 11. I forgot about Death Step for tier 10 also, by the way. But 9 Circles, Jawbreaker, Chaotic Hell, fucking PG Club Step is another one that I only named just now for some reason. That really old Grind District level. There's so many levels just named Grind District that use that song. Fucking, what other ones are there? Like, I think some of the fucking SIMG Factorial levels are in this tier. Water Temple is in this tier, which isn't the most popular temple level, but still, it's there, I guess. Insomnia V2 is in this tier, which is here. What other ones? I know there are a lot more popular levels that I'm just not thinking of. White Women is another one, and No Wise. No Wise, I forgot that No Wise was a tier 11. In my mind, it's a tier 10. Like, I always think of that as a tier 10. But, yeah, White Women is a really good level in this tier that I would recommend as a first hard demon, also. I also just like basically everything Heather Hayes makes, though. Frustration by Alkali is another one. And I have another one in mind that I'm just not finding. And it is starting to annoy me. Um, yeah, I guess it just doesn't fucking exist. I mean, another medium is one that I didn't mention that I really like, but that's not the level that I was thinking of at all. But yeah, I think 11 is going in B tier, above tier 7. Um, tier 12, I think, is going in A tier between tiers 6 and 3. I think that this is a pretty important tier for progression in general. Um, if you care about two-player levels at all, this is one of the ones. This is a tier that has some pretty important, well, not pretty important, but some really good first two-player levels. The ones that come to mind being Tatango and Companion Cube. But this tier also has Forsaken Neon. It has the Big Black, which if you're POW D matters a lot. It has Tolera by 1 Million Sharks, who is a pretty underrated creator that I like a lot. It has Scissors, which is a level that How D played, but a level that I also think is like 2003 Devon's only like really good level in my mind. I like that level a lot. Um, if you like memory levels, Follow Me is a pretty funny level that I think is kind of cool, which I only really know about because I really like the Real X Future for levels that aren't that one, like Entanglement and Follow Me Closely, which is that level sequel. Um, Ruination is another good hard demon in that tier that I would kind of advise on the basis of it being reminiscent of a lot of flow gameplay that you'll find later. I really like this track. I want to build a level to this track. Um, I would call the level Itinerary. I do have a plan for it. But yeah, I think that this is a pretty solid tier, all things considered. And I think I'm cool with it being situated in A tier. I remember Template, that one level that Anvil. I forgot. I thought Sedulous was a tier 13. I guess I'm stupid. Um, but yeah, that one level that Anvil made that didn't get rated for like a human lifespan was like rated tier 12 when I first saw that it got rated by just browsing the GDDL. And I thought that was batshit crazy, and I was completely right because it got dropped to like tier 4, and it's somehow still a medium demon to this day. And it's kind of crazy how severely overrated every memory level ever is, but that's a topic for another day. In the meantime, tier 12 is staying in A tier, and tier 13 is probably going right into B tier above tier 11. I think it's kind of just a better tier 11 in a lot of ways. What all's in tier 13? Breakthrough is in tier 13. Neon Overdrive is tier 13. Hypermania is in tier 13. And all of those are pretty solid levels. NGU, which is a level that I recommended to Zaka, is tier 13. Drying Out, which is a hard demon that I beat when it was tier 14, got dropped to tier 13, and I think that's a really, really good level. I forgot about Doomsday V2 as a level that's tier 12 that not a lot of people like, but I do. Future Funk is a tier 13 also that I just forgot about because I don't like Jonathan levels. What other levels are tier 13? Oh yeah, Hypnotic Travel is tier 13 also. Dance Massacre is tier 13. Some S and F tiers that immediately come to mind. I really don't like putting many things in S and F, but I think that as of right now, I would probably put 36 in F tier like you did. I think that would be my lowest tier in terms of level quality in general, because in my mind, tier 36 is kind of represented by every level that's like between Arcturus and Codependence on the list. And that's really not like a span of levels that bodes too well for me. As far as S tier goes, probably like I'd probably put like one insane demon tier and one extreme demon tier in S tier. I don't know that you would really like my pick for the insane demon tier because I probably would pick a high-end insane demon tier and maybe even tier 20. I do think that tier 20 is like a really solid tier in terms of level quality. But that's mostly just because I have a couple of levels that come to mind very vividly when I think of tier 20. But with that said, yeah, crazy was the level I was thinking of when I said that there was another important one that was escaping me. Thank you. But yeah, 13's going there. 14 is probably gonna go a little bit lower, even though there are some levels that I really like that are tier 14. Fae is one of the only legendary levels out there that I actually really like. Late by Kiwi Penguin is a tier 14, and I love that level and everything that Kiwi Penguin makes. Spectrum Switch is a tier 14, and I kind of think that's a good level too. Trippy Trippy is one of Woolsey's levels that I like also. I don't like it as much as I like Redemption Arc or anything, but I do think it's a good level still. Doomed is a fancy wave challenge that I, for some reason, have an ounce of compassion for in my heart. We Care by Wandu. Wandu is a super underrated creator, and I really like his levels, and I think We Care is a really good one. Um, I might also put like tier 28 or something for my extreme demon tier. That would be S. It would be like between tier 26 and 28 that I would do. Wandu did have that collab with Kiwi Penguin, and that one is a tier 21 called Wutend. That level would kill your eyes, but if it wouldn't, then I think it would be a really good extreme for you because it just happens to be a level that has interesting gameplay and has an okay song and has a wave choke point at like 70-ish and a really easy ending after that. Like I think that level would kind of be a bit of a breeze for you if it didn't hurt eyes bad. But we will get to that later. Tier 14, I don't know. Like top of C tier. The only reason nothing is like in D and F right now compared to what I would normally make a tier list look like is just because a lot of like higher tier extremes are really hurt by not having many levels that are high quality in them. I mostly think of like the mid 30s when I say that. Forced is Deadly Clubstep a 14 now? I thought that was a 15. Forest Temple is another one that I just completely forgot about somehow. Deadly Clubstep is a 14. Wow. I guess I should have assumed. I always thought it was overrated when it was a 15. But yeah, I think that kind of solidifies 14 at top of C for me even more. What are other levels in this tier that I'm forgetting about? I know there are a couple. Um, Fairy Dust. Fairy Dust is another one that completely slipped my mind, even though I was thinking about it earlier. And there was one more. There might not be one more. Oh well. Tier 15, I think, is just going to go in B tier, bottom of B tier. There are a couple of 15s that I really like that I kind of wish were more popular. I think that 15 is like a good next point in progression after tier 12, but I don't think it's nearly as good as like the lower end of Insane Demons, like tiers 16 and 17. I think tier 17 is really strong and probably going above everything here so far. Um, let's see here. Mastermind is in this tier. Irises is in this tier. Limbo is in this tier. Prototype is in this tier. Home is in this tier by Envil. And should probably sort by level ID. That's probably a better way to remember important levels. Oh, a very important level. Speed Core is in this tier that Halo really likes. Stalemate is in this tier. Sharp Miner is apparently in this tier, and I forgot about that. Okay, I'm back. I was about to mention diffuse and forget psychosis completely whenever I was talking about tier 15 levels. Um, but yes, those are also pretty important. Rebellion is one that I beat that's old as hell and not good, but I still enjoyed it. Um, yeah, I think that this is a fine tier, all things considered. And I think it's a good one to go to for like a next step from tier 11, 12 difficulty. Inane Demon got dropped to this tier, apparently. That's funny. It does kind of deserve it a little bit. That level's pretty easy for an Insane Demon. I do still think it could be like the floor of tier 16, though. But yeah, I think tier 15 is bottom of B. Tier 16, I think, is going to be top of B, though. Tier 16 is a pretty good tier for both progression and for level quality. I mean, there are a lot of very beloved tiers and beloved levels in tier 16. And there are a lot of levels that I actually like a lot. Minet by Minet is one such level that I think has really cool block design and pretty okay gameplay. But that is not one of the levels I had in mind at all. That's just on the first page whenever I pulled up tier 16. But, I mean, tier 16 levels, like Lost Myself, Reedy, Who, What, Where, When, Why, formerly Inane Demon. Windy Landscape is a pretty important one that I'm pretty sure is still tier 16. It is still tier 16. Good. Stereo Demoness is tier 16. There's a Heinz level that was tier 16 that I'm forgetting about. Poltergeist is tier 16, so is Ice Cream. Effot is tier 16. And there's somebody here that's not me that cares about Auspectro, so I bothered to bring that up. Rupture by Jekko is tier 16. Crying Souls is apparently tier 16, even though I thought that was tier 17. Havoc's Slaughterhouse is tier 16. Like, there are a lot of important levels here to the community, and to me, too, for that matter. Comatose is a very beloved level. Footnotes is a level that I care about a lot and I think is really, really cool. A couple of the chromatic levels are in this tier. I know multi-chromatic is, and I think bichromatic is as well. And those are pretty good. Ivy Teal's Time Machine is in this tier. What else is in tier 16? There are a lot of levels, and a lot of them are very, very good. And very worth the time. I don't know if I mentioned Reedy or Gregory yet, but both of those are very good. Magma Bound is apparently tier 16, even though I thought it was harder than that. But yeah, a lot of levels, a lot of them very good. Just kind of gets knocked down by Blast Furnace. I forgot about Blast Furnace. It kind of just gets knocked down by tier 17, just being a better next chapter, I guess. Tier 17 is going in the top of A and is maybe being considered for S, but not really. I don't think it'll end up in S, but it has a solid shot at it. Yeah, tier 17. Very, very good next stop after tier 12. What else in tier 17? Thaw is in tier 17. Flowering. Acropolis is tier 17 and very important. Like every other Heinz level is tier 17. Night Terrors and Firewall are kind of the first two that come to mind. Who, What, Where, When, Why is apparently tier 17 now, not tier 16, by the way. I mentioned that level a minute ago. Colorful Overnight is in this tier and is a level. Violet Glint is a level that's in this tier that I like a lot. Klupa is in this tier by Wandu. I like that level too, if you can believe it. Almanac is in this tier. Nilscapes is in this tier, which is that one L413 level that like kind of blew up out of nowhere after Nexus showcased it and Zoink played it. That I found before both of those and felt like the coolest person ever for. Lit Fuse is also in this tier and is also a pretty important and not good level. I had another level in mind that I completely blanked on, which is kind of disappointing. Oh yeah, Miku is a pretty popular level that I'm not very fond of. Hate Wandu is very good, even if it's like eye killing central and very choke point heavy. Heatwave is one of my favorite 1.9 GDPS levels in terms of like playability. Supersonic and Ado are also levels in this tier. One of them I find an ounce of appreciation for in my heart, and the other one is Supersonic, but I'm also biased, and I can admit that. But tier 17 is going to be the highest tier, not for very long, but it is the best one so far, I feel. Tier 18 is also very good, even if it is just kind of one of those tiers that only a couple of levels come to mind for. Remembrance is a really good level that came out pretty recently. It was Xtet's first legendary rate, and I am very, very happy about that because I think that's an awesome level, and so is 123 Charisma. Both of those are 2-player levels, and I think that they're very good, like second 2-player demons after Tatango and Companion Cube. One of them will be my first 2-player demon, being 123 Charisma, and I think that this tier manages to be a pretty good 2-player tier, miraculously. But a couple of other good levels that are not 2-player. Cavalsod by Cordeaux is one of the levels that got me into the idea of building a no-spike level at some point myself. Landing Softly is pretty good by Ivy Teal. Shoebill by Heather Hayes is one of my favorite levels in the game conceptually, and just for the sake of how special it is to me. Because that's like kind of the first level I saw in this game from my limited exposure at the time in like 2023, just from how Diandicosa playing it, that really wowed me in any capacity. So that level's special to me for that reason. The lesser known prequel to Worst Trip, Bad Trip, is in this tier. Boutiti 2 is in this tier, and I never mentioned Boutiti 1. I'm kind of glad I missed it. What else is in this tier? Apollo 13's in this tier. I forgot about that level. But that level's cool. Toe 4 is in this tier. I forgot about that creation by Mannix. And it's an okay one. Not great, but not bad either. I mean, there are a couple of levels that How Deep Beat that are in this tier also, like Necropolis is a very important one. The Secret Box is also kind of important. Future Circles, I think, is in this tier. Voxius is in this tier. Lunatic Doom Machine, I think, is in this tier, even though I kind of feel like it's a little bit harder than this tier. It is still in this tier. I kind of think that level should be a tier 19, but I'm also not very good, and tier 19 is where my soon-to-be hardest is situated. But yeah, I'm sure there are other levels that I'm forgetting about right now. Forgot Message to Rob Top was hard enough to make this tier. It's kind of stupid. Flat Major is in this tier. Don't Look, Don't Speak is in this tier. Ultraviolet is in this tier, and I don't like that level. But yeah, all of that said, no, I didn't need to do that. Ultrasonic is in this tier too. I forgot about that. I also forgot about Future Funk 2 and Layak. But I think tier 18, I'm probably going to put 18, like, I'm torn. I don't know if I want it above or below tier 13. This is like the first hard decision for me. I'm probably going to put it above, honestly. Just because, like, if I'm that torn on it, I think that potential is a good tiebreaker. Which, unfortunately, is just going to put the higher tier higher more often than not. But yeah, Rearmed is a tier 17. I forgot about that. But yeah, that's going there. And tier 19, I don't know. Tier 19 is in a difficult spot where it's kind of just a very overshadowed tier as far as Insane Demons go. I mean, there are a couple that I'm wanting to play that are in tier 19. And I think some of them are a little bit harder than tier 19, honestly, and some of them are a little bit easier. Input Code, the level I'm playing now, is a tier 19. The End is Here is a tier 19. Trick Room is a tier 19 that I kind of think should be a tier 20. But I guess I'll find out whenever I play it. Industry 22 is a tier 19 by Borden, who is a very, very underrated creator who also made Borden Factory and Comprehension Test, which are two levels that I kind of find really funny. Dust Muncher is a tier 19. DVP is a tier 19 that I also want to play. Cyber Chaos is a tier 19 that I only just remembered for some reason. Cherry Team's Back on Track is a tier 19 that I don't care a whole lot about. If I were smart, I would have gotten Water sooner. Chunkla is a tier 19. Heather Hayes' Chunkla that I like. Beetle is apparently a tier 19. I thought that was an 18. The Xorberax level that I used to think was good, and then I aged slightly and woke up, apparently. Underground is a tier 19 by Metalface. I know there are like a couple that I'm forgetting about. I guess Invisible Deadlocked is a tier 19. You moved it up considerably from D tier. I'm curious as to why. Bellic is also a tier 19. That's the one I was thinking of, but I'm sure there's another one that I'm going to see here in a second. Oh, Crimson Clutter. Right, I mentioned that level earlier. And Two-Faced Agony is also a tier 19. There are a lot of levels here. Creeper Force is also here, apparently. I kind of think that level is maybe a little bit harder than that. But, it's kind of funny that you moved it up from the bottom of C tier. I'm not putting it at bottom of C tier, but I do think that I am going to put it, honestly, like bottom of B tier. It's kind of just this tier. No, I'm putting it top of C tier. Oh, this tier is so overshadowed by so many tiers around it and just has a very small sample size compared to the tiers around it also. This is a nice track. And it's 4 minutes by Xorberax? Wow. Might have to pay more attention to this one. But yeah, like, less than 200 levels in a tier that's not extreme is kind of crazy. Like, I know that tier 20 has some extremes in it, but I wouldn't be too surprised if it has. It has less. Never mind, I suck. It's okay. But yeah, with that said, I think I'm keeping tier 19 there. Spearmint is 19 now. I forgot it was 20 at one point and I disagreed with it, so I'm glad it's tier 19 now. I also forgot Crazy 3 was 19. In my head, that's like an 18. But yeah, I think I'm keeping tier 19 there. Tint, you're gonna disagree with this strongly, but 20's going in A. Yeah, it is absolutely where we're going to be disagreeing the most. I won't put it above tier 17. I'm not going to try to, at least not for now, I'm not going to try to argue it to be a super important level of difficulty for progression, even if I do think it's a really good next step from 17. But there are just a lot of levels around this difficulty that I really like. I really like Mystic Bounds. I really like Switch My Size. I really like Hollow. I really like In Canon. I really like My Little Garden. Troll level is okay, but, you know, I'm not gonna like sit here and argue that as a great level or anything. There are a lot of really important levels in this tier also, like mostly entry extremes like Acu and Red World. ICDX and Gunslinger Corridor are both in this tier, which are also contentious on the basis of their difficulty, even though I feel like both of those levels are just definitely Insane Demon. And basically every level on the Insane Demon list, which is I think a really solid list of a lot of good levels, are in this tier. Like Pillars is in this tier, Meow is in this tier, Emple's in this tier. There are a lot of very popular two-player levels that I don't really like a whole lot that are in this tier, but they're very popular anyway. Mostly Duelo Maestro and Master Duel, which are basically the same level. There are a lot of older levels in this tier too, like Kurumi City, which isn't super old, but XYZ Step Infinity is in this tier. I don't know. there are just a lot of really good levels in this tier that I really like. And I kind of struggle to put it much lower than where it is, especially because it's a difficulty tier that I really like building in also. But yeah, I think I'm leaving it there. Now, I think for the extreme demon tiers, I'm not really gonna be referring to the actual GDDL website as much as I'm going to be referring to the Aretal, with a couple of exceptions, in the sense that I think there are a couple of levels that I find very overrated on the Aretal. But I do remember most of those by name, so from now on, I kind of have like a general guide for where I think the cutoff is for these. So in my mind, like tier 21 on the Aretal would be like every level from basically 1490 to 1160. And with that said, there are a lot of pretty great levels in this tier, actually. Luma is one of them. In Circles is okay. I'm kind of just looking at this now. Pulsation is really just like a better heartbeat. Make Me Sad is okay. Cataclysm and Falling Up are really popular. La Llorona is okay. Red World Rebirth is popular. Decay is in here. I know that, and I really, really like that level. I believe Dreamer is also in here, and I also like that level a lot. Allegiance is a level that I think is a little bit overhyped, but that's okay. Melon River is Ivy Teal's like least characteristic creation on their account. Matilda the Machine is terrible, but it's kind of funny. Castling is terrible. Uprise is in this tier. Yeah, there's a Dreamer. Ion is in this tier and is a level that I actually really like, that I think is conceptually a very interesting sort of combination of a lot of different limitations that manages to play pretty well all the while. I don't know, there are a lot of very acceptable levels in this tier for me. And I think it's a good stepping stone, but it's kind of in an awkward spot between 20 and 22, where I kind of think both of those tiers are better. So, with that said, I think I kind of agree with where you put 21 on your tier list, Tint, in the sense that it is a good B tier for me. I think I'm going to be putting it above tier 7 and below tier 11. I'm kind of surprised that you put tier 7 at the very top of your tier list. I don't know if that stayed in your current one, but I do kind of respect that in a way. Tier 22 is honestly a pretty good contender for S tier. Tier 22 for me is kind of going to end at around 1025 on the Aretal. So basically everything from like 1160 to 1025 is tier 22. And in that area we have Gloss, Tuapika, I Never Dream, Necropolix, Wootend, even though Wootend probably should be a tier 21. A2 Marble, which I don't like much, but is definitely popular. Sunburn, which I like a lot more. Anvil Factory, which is one of the most underrated extreme demons in the entire game, not in terms of difficulty, just in terms of like both how well known it is and by enjoyment, because like I kind of feel like this realistically should be a lot higher than 73. I also haven't beaten it yet, but oh well. No, apparently Synchron's level is tier as a tier, or as 2-player. A lot of very hard 2-player levels are going to be here, like Sides of My Mind. But, you know. There are a couple of other pretty important ones. Heartbeat is one such example. Glide is another example for me. Funnily enough, Geode by IVT was kind of the reason I put the cutoff at 1025. In my opinion, this is like the hardest level that I could really make sense of calling a 22. But I don't know. I just think there are a lot of good levels here. Sky Conflux is another example of that I didn't mention. I like Totem, even though some people seem to not. Out of Chaos is a super good level that I wish was more well known. Windless Landscape is another level in this tier vaguely that I wish was, that I'm happy is as popular as it is. Actually, I kind of forgot that that level is as well known as it is. But yeah, I think for now I'm going to put this at the top of A. Yeah, crowd control is good. I'm not a retention fan, personally. I am a bit more of a Napalm fan. Rivers of Nazareth is a really cool level that I wish I liked more, and I kind of can admit is my fault that I don't like it as much as I do. But yeah, I think I'm good putting tier 22 right there for now. And tier 23 is going to go all the way up to number 845 on the Aretal for me. Just because there are a lot of levels in this sort of area that I think. Actually, no, I think I'm going to put it at 850. I don't think I can justify Sakup and Joy or Prismatic Haze as tier 23s. Never mind, Sakup and Joy is a tier 22, and I'm just really bad at Wave. But, yeah. I still think I'm making the cutoff at 850. A Bizarre Phantasm is pretty important. Maniac is a level that I like that's in this sort of area. Marathon is a very contentious level that I like a lot in this area. Slato is in this area and is definitely contentious. Tron is in a similar spot. Float is a level that I really, really like by Neostic that's very, very ship heavy. And of all of the levels out there that use Flow as a song is maybe my favorite. No by Metalface is a tier 24 that I think is overrated by the GDDL. Pitfall Caverns is another level I like a lot. Cytokinesis is apparently a tier 24. Wow. Redemption Arc is not one that I'm at yet scrolling, but is one that I really, really like in this tier. Solstice is a 1.9 GDPS level that I like a lot, even though it kind of does what Slam in the Monster Gauntlet did for Howdy, in the sense that it serves a lot of stuff I don't like on a platter in a way that I find very, very, very palatable for what it does. You think Marathon is that underrated? I don't know. Maybe it's just because, like, I tend to not struggle much with memory and don't think any of the timings in it were very hard from the practice run that I did of it. But I kind of feel like it's pretty appropriately situated in tier 23. I don't know if I agree with 2 tiers underrated. I could maybe see it as a tier 24 though. Even that's a big maybe. I definitely think ABP is harder than Marathon by a pretty considerable margin. But I do agree that tier 23 is a very awkward tier that has some good levels, but I think tier 23, like overall, because I know that you were considering sort of a slightly more weighted average sort of approach to how you were gauging level difficult or like level quality and their importance to the tier, in the sense that good levels hold a lot more weight than bad levels. But I just don't think that tier 23 has nearly as many good levels as any of the tiers in A tier, and I would even argue that it is worse than basically everything in B tier right now. I kind of can't find a reason to not put it in C tier. I might put it. I think I'm going to swap tiers 19 and 14 and put it here. I think Glide is overrated. I think as far as like the goodness of the level anyway. Like I feel like a lot of people I've seen play it really like it, and I think that's fair. I think Totem is a good level. I like Totem. But Glide is interesting for 3 double clicks, and that's about it. Niflheim is also a level that I don't enjoy as much as most people, it seems. Which is a shame, because I think it's not bad. I just don't like it very much. I don't know. I think this is just going to be like... This is going to be the worst an extreme tier is for like basically all of the 20s at least. Is tier 23. Other than maybe tier 27, but I don't know. I kind of think that you hated on tier 29 a little bit aggressively in your tier list, but I do kind of agree that it's not as good of a tier as most of the extreme demon tiers in the 20s. Um, tier 24, I kind of think of as like 850 to 775. There are a lot of tier 24s just scattered all over the arena in all sorts of strange places that they don't really belong in my mind, but I don't know, it is a very strange tier in terms of like what is and isn't appropriate for it, I guess. But in my mind, like the hardest level that I would feel comfortable calling a tier 24 is like the Hellbird. But I don't know. I think it's a fine tier nonetheless. I mean, there are a lot of like good levels to it. Dyad is the first one that comes to mind. Seismic Lock is shit. Moment is pretty popular nowadays, and I think it's fair. I think it's a fine level. I think Gravity is also pretty okay, despite it being what it is. Bloodbath is very popular and is a level. AT Marble is also a 24 apparently. Lifish, man, I'm realizing I just do not like a lot of these levels. Uh, Airs' Grind District is a 24 that I think is okay. I don't know, just Dyad and Prismatic Haze are doing a lot of heavy lifting for this tier for me right now. And even Prismatic Haze isn't a level I'm super fond of, but I don't know. Let's see here. Down base is in this tier. ABP apparently just got bumped up to this tier, which I disagree with. Idols is in this tier. Conical Depression is in this tier. Oh yeah, Want Me's in this tier. I forgot about Want Me. That's a good level. Another no spike level that inspired me to want to make one at some point. Yeah, this tier just really doesn't have very many levels to it. A Berry is another good one. Europa is a level that's overshadowed by basically all of the other levels in its series for me. I Hate Ren is in this tier and isn't very good. Vibrance Quaoar is in this tier and isn't very good. Yeah, I'm realizing that I might have spoken too soon about tier 24. These levels just aren't good. You liked Vibrance Quaoar? That's the only Quaoar in tier 24. That level's terrible. Cytokinesis also isn't very good. Nor is 666, in my opinion. I mean, Cytokinesis is better than both 666 and Quaoar by a pretty considerable margin, but like, I don't know, like I'm looking at all these levels, like Innards is in this tier. The Hellbird is in this tier that I mentioned earlier. Like, these just aren't good. Silentium gratis is in this tier. I might put this in D tier. I thought 20 was going to be the tier we disagree on most. But these are bad levels, at least in my opinion. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say they're indefensible levels. I'm just finding, like, that there really aren't many levels in tier 24 that I'm even a little bit motivated to play. I might put it here. I felt so sure of what I said about tier 23 earlier and that it would be the lowest placed tier in the 20s, but I kind of forgot that this level, or that this tier had so few levels to it, and not very many of them are good. Like, it's just in a spot where tier 22 is so much better than it, and tier 25 is like right there and such a massive upgrade over it that it kind of just is overshadowed completely. With that said, tier 25 is a like it's a tier with an even lower sample size, but like what all's in the sample size, right? Like Devoid is here. I like that level. Inside is here by Hypno. That's a good level. One Attempt is a good level. Time Dilation is a good level. I really like Cooley Mazy Paloozy, and I know that's not a popular take, per se. Anahita's in this tier. Freedom 19, Falcon 16, Blade of Justice, Maddening. I think Super Mayo Hate Club is still in this tier, and I know that's not a popular level in terms of like how it's received, but I like it a lot. Water Demon is in this tier. Vivacious is in this tier. Sapphire Angel is in this tier. Basically, the entire gang series is in this tier of 2-player levels. Betrayal of Fate is here. This is just so much better than tier 24. I guess 24 is important for progression, but like, I don't feel like it's anything that tier 25 can't be. Like, I realize that 20, like the jump from 24 to 25 is kind of a pretty significant one to me. Like, I kind of think of that as a bigger separation than like 25 to 26, 26 to 27, and all of those, and I'm not sure why that is. But I don't know, tier 25 has got to be like at least above 21. I think 25 should go here. I think that's a fine spot for it. No, 26 is a tier that I think pretty highly of. Mostly because of a couple of levels in it, I will say. Let's see here. What all's in here? Miss You by Schmeagles, Worst Trip, Reset Your Mind, IO, Voltage by Hypno, Curie, Boogie is in this tier, The Hell Inferno is in this tier, Autonomica apparently got bumped up to this tier, even though I don't really agree with that at all. Speedrun is in this tier. Rash by Loltad is in this tier. Subsonic is in this tier. I forgot that level's that hard. Wild Rose is in this tier, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I do still think is a good level. Thanatos is in this tier, which isn't great, but it's still a pretty okay level. I Hate You is in this tier. Ameliorate is in this tier, which is my second favorite rated extreme demon, or just rated level in the entire game right now. Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you in the sense that it's a weird tier that has a lot of lovable levels. Like, I feel like 25 is a better stepping stone in terms of progression, but I feel like 26 just has... I'm being very biased. 26 just has Ameliorate. And Io, which is a very good level also, but I need to, like, admit to myself that Ameliorate is half of the reason why. Well, Ameliorate, Io, and Boogie are, like, and Autonomica. Okay, it's just a good tier. Fine. Yeah, I think 26 is probably... It's definitely going in B tier. And I think it's going right below 25. Now, 27 is definitely going in A tier for me. I feel like it's a really good spot in terms of progression. Yeah, Worst Trip is really good. I like Worst Trip a lot. 27 is definitely going in A tier. Like, just to list off some of the levels here. Escondidois is one of the best two-player extremes in the game. Borden Factory is here. Redeemer is here. Desolate by Bilzer is here. Nightmare Chasm by Zeptaz is here. Find the Answer is here, which is a really good level also. Korn is here. Vein Step is here. Chroma 2 is okay, but I definitely think that it's not the best run level. Able is maybe the most impressive level in terms of like what it does with 2.1's triggers in the entire game. Decoration wise, at least. Black Blizzard is here. Cloud by Kuiper Belt is here, which is another level I like a lot. Not really as much as a lot of other ones per se, but X-User More Like Loser is here, which is one of my favorite Akuna-kun levels. Rose Dynamics is here. Astral Divinity and Shock Therapy are here, both of which are levels I really don't like much, but are still important. Mad Mansion is here, even though I think that level is very overrated. Hatred is here, and that level's terrible, but it's still here. Quantum Processing is in this tier. Ultraviolet is in this tier. Butiti 3 is in this tier. There are just a lot of really, really good levels. Well, I don't know. I like a lot of the levels in tier 27, but I can see why it's in C tier. I can agree with it in the way of it being awkward, maybe. I think it's less awkward than like 26. I think it's a fine step from 25. Even though I kind of think of 25 and 26 in the same vein. I think it just happens to be that a lot of levels really helped 27 out pretty recently. And there's maybe even an argument, according to the Aredal, that Ameliorate should maybe be a tier 27 or tier 28, even though I think Ameliorate is the most overrated level on the Aredal. But that's its own conversation. Tier 27 is definitely going in A. I don't know that I can argue for it above tier 6. But I think I'm putting it there. Just because, like, I don't know, there are a lot of really, really good levels in this tier. Tier 28, another very strong tier, even if it's mostly for just a couple of levels. I mean, it does help that my favorite level in the game is in this tier, but I don't know. Soleil is in this tier. That's also a level I like a lot. Power Grid is okay. Confusion is in this tier, and I kind of like that whole series. Retention Rush is pretty popular, and I think it's a pretty fine level to be popular. Omicron is in this tier. Killbot is in this tier. Edelweiss is in this tier, which is another level I like a lot. Nazgub's Apollo 11 is in this tier, and I like that level a lot. Knight Rider is a fine level that a lot of people really like, that I don't completely understand, but don't completely disagree with either. The Moon Below is kind of a boring level for its difficulty. I still like it, I just think it should be easier than it is. Dole Damos is pretty popular and does a lot of cool and agreeable things. The much better Quawar is in this tier. The Cinnabon apparently got dropped to this tier. Like half of all of Zeronium's levels are in this tier. Delta Interface is in this tier. Stalemate Redux, Never Beat It, Artificial Ascent, 211. Digital Descent. Bausha Vortex. Low Death. Stereo Extremeness, which is not good. Base Cave. I don't know, 28 is a very good tier for... just in the sense that it feels like it has a good enough spread to be another good stepping stone. Like, I feel like if you're just trying to, like, rush up to beating a super hard level and that's your reason for playing the game, I feel like there is still a reason to play tier 28 after tier 27 in terms of skill progression. And I think that's the first time I can say that for 2 consecutive tiers. And I think tier 28 also just has some very good levels. I don't think it has as many good levels as tier 22. And I don't think it's as important as tier 22 or tier 17. I might even put it below tier 20. But I think... I don't know. These two are a big toss-up for me. I think I'm going to put it here because I think that I would maybe argue 17, then 20, then 22 is a very good progression into, like, then following it with, like, something in, like, the 24, 25 range, and then 27, and then 28, but 28 just feels a lot more optional. 29 is a level that you threw in D, or is a tier that you threw in D tier, that I don't hate you doing that to, but I do think that you hated on it a little bit too hard. I think that a lot of the levels in it, like X0, Devil Vortex, Time Extreme, Super Probably level, Generic Wave, Quantum Dynamics, Erebus, like a lot of these levels in this tier are very bad. But at the same time, levels like Chromatic Haze, Video, The Mainframe, Freedom 08, which is also not a very good level, admittedly. Are there really only 46 levels in this tier? Wow. Yeah, a lot of the levels that I remembered being in tier 29 were either bumped down or bumped up, which is kind of funny because I was going to argue for it. I still don't think it's in D tier, but I don't know. It has a much smaller sample size now. Lucid Chaos is one of Cairo X's better levels for me, but... Oh, Echoes of Neon got bumped down. That's another good level, I feel. Tier 28 is your favorite Extreme Demon tier by a pretty big margin. That's fair. I think that it's, like... I think it's a tier that has a lot of potential, but as far as potential goes, like if I was ranking stuff based on potential, my tier list would just look like this. And that's kind of boring. So I'm not doing that. But with that said, tier 29... I didn't mention Adalucid as a tier 28. It might have been bumped down. Maybe I missed it, but tier 29 I think is going in like... You only felt strong towards Chromatic Haze. That's fair. There are just a couple of other levels in the tier that I care about that you maybe haven't played yet. I'm not saying that's like the only reason that you don't put it there, but like Video at the Mainframe are kind of the big two that I'm thinking of, and Echoes of Neon is another good one. But I don't know. I think that it has an argument for being vaguely important. I think it's good enough to like stay in B tier, but I do kind of agree that it is worse than most of the 20s as an Extreme Demon tier. I think I might put it here. I think it's better than tier 15 at least, in the sense that tier 15 is like more aggressively overshadowed than tier 29 is as a tier. Tier 30 has a couple of pretty big levels to it. Sonic Wave is a pretty important level. Lacey is a level I like a lot. Ghoul is a level I like a lot. Goner is a level that a lot of people like a lot, but I don't. Ashes is a level I adore. Edge of the World is a good level that I don't care too much about, but still think is good. Schmarleyville is good. Icotact is one of Ice Cave's more agreeable levels to me. Wazaretta is good. Controller is good. Rage is a pretty great level in my opinion. Cybernetic Crescent is in this tier. Sync is in this tier. Exo is in this tier. Kuzureta, Yatagarasu, Controlled Chaos, Titan Complex. Like, there are a lot of levels in this tier to make its sample size more supple. And a lot of them are pretty good, comparatively. I think that tier 30 is definitely going to be one of the higher tiers in the 30s for me. And I saw that it was kind of in the middle for you as far as tiers in the 30s go, and I don't really blame you for that at all. But I think that's because you have more like healthy and thorough experiences with levels in this tier than just finding an appreciation for them on the basis of how they are, which is kind of the extent of my experience. And I think that tier 30 is also a pretty important stepping stone. Like, there are a lot of players that in their progression to get better play levels like Wazaretta, like Sonic Wave, like Yatagarasu to get better at the game. And I think that's because it has significance as a progression tier. And I think that I'm at least putting it above tier 25. I don't know if I can argue for it as more as important enough to be an A tier, but I think I will put it here. I think I'll put it there. I think I'm going to drop tier 1 to F tier. And I also think I'm just going to put this here now. But I'll talk about it when we get there. I agree with you putting it down there as the worst tier. I think it just does not have good substantial levels to it. But before I get to that, let's talk about tier 31. 51 levels in this tier, apparently. Ploink is in this tier, and I like that a lot. Frozen Cave is in this tier, and I think it's okay. 53 is in this tier, and that's okay. Luminosity is also in this tier, and okay. Shutdown is fine. Geochroma Reminisce is a good level, in my opinion, and kind of like a good bridge level between, like, a lot of the bullshit in the mid tiers and very hard 2-player levels. I think it's a good bridge between those spots. The Devon TH3 DEV0N is in this tier, and I think that's a really good level. Plasma Pulse Finale is one of my favorite former top ones. Ouroboros is bad, but it's here. Let's see here. The Yandere is here. This is another good level as far as like bridge levels between bullshit 2 players and really hard ones. But I do think that this tier is going to probably go below tier 30. Arctic Lights is in this tier, and that's another well-liked level, I suppose. Requiem is also in this tier, I realized. So is Cerzia's ship. I don't know, I think this is just like another C tier, honestly. It's not going to go low in C tier, but it is going in C tier. Like, here, I suppose. Maybe above it, but I think it belongs below it. Tier 32, I think, has more potential as a tier to place highly on the basis of acceptable levels, which I'm realizing you put below tier 31. I'm curious as to why. If you're still here. I think you are. X84 is here. Apotheosis is here. Nelv is here. Sides of My Mind is here, which I would honestly be very okay with as like a final hardest for me. I really like Sides of My Mind a lot. But I know that not very many people care about 2-player a lot. Death Corridor Z, a Wednesday, and Silent Club are all here, which are... There is one good level out of those 3, and the other 2 are older, being Death Corridor Z and Silent Club. Bloodlust is here, Chroma Finale is here, Congregation is here. Launchpad Labyrinth is maybe a little bit underrated. I think that could maybe be a tier 23. Ragnarok is a miserable level in this tier. Coaretta is here. Untitled Unmastered is here, which I think is very underplaced on the Aredal. Atomic Cannon is here, which I do kind of think is worse than Atomic Cannon Mark II, but it's still here. The Wiener is wildly overplaced to end up in this tier, but I think that's a pretty good level also. But yeah, I think they're... You like 31 because of Spectrum Cyclone and Requiem, and 30 and 32 were better tiers for progression, which made you put it somewhere in the middle. I see. I think tier 32 is definitely a very good tier for progression. Tier 32 is probably going to be one of the only two tiers in the 30s that's going in A tier. With that said, Ragnarok, I can see Ragnarok as a 33 actually. It's also just such a shit level that like your mental while you're playing it would make it a 33 alone. Your mental while you're playing it would make it like a 34. That level is so bad. But I don't know, tier 32 I honestly might put like here. Oh, I might put it here. I don't think that anything like in the super. I don't think anything in the 30s is going to be super important progression wise, in the sense that, like, this is kind of the last one that I would really think of as a stepping stone. Like, I think from here, if you want to, like, have a healthy skill progression, you should just play a level in every tier after it, and they kind of all blend together in the sense that you should maybe play more than one for a steady progression. But I don't know. I think that's kind of just an early indicator that all of these tiers are going below tier 32. I also think that that's a pretty early sign that this is A tier. And I would maybe even say that this is S tier. I honestly might put any of these three in S tier. I think it would aggravate you a lot if I put 20 in S tier. And I probably won't do that. I might just put 22 in S tier and call that good. I don't know. I might just be tolerant of putting 3 in S tier and 3 in F tier for this tier list in particular, which is very uncharacteristic of me, but I don't know. I don't feel like I would call any of these S's though. I might just rename this to like A+, but that would kind of be obnoxious, so I'm not going to do that. I'll just be okay with it being called S tier, I think. Yeah, with that said, we are getting into tier 33, which is a tier that you placed higher than tier 30. I don't know that I really agree with that, but we'll see what else here. Super Hate Me World, Amalgam, Lucid Nightmares, Shardscape, Sari Neverclear, Call Me Maybe, Omega Interface, The Ocean of Fish, Utopia, Kappa, Cycles X apparently, Rust, Rigel, Coral Cave, Shimmer, Cognition. I think Cold Sweat's here, right? Cobwebs is here. Is Cold Sweat really not in this tier? Instinct is in this tier, apparently. What tier is Cold Sweat in, then? Is it also in... Cold Sweat got bumped up to a 34. Wow. That's kind of surprising to me. I guess it makes sense, though. I just kind of always thought of Cold Sweat as like a higher 33. You dropped 33 from B to high C, and that was one of your biggest changes. Okay. I guess I agree with that. Honestly. I think that it's important progression-wise in that, like, a lot of people who are getting good at the game will play, like, Shardscape, Super Hate Me World, Cobwebs. Those are kind of the big three right now. I guess I've seen a couple of up-and-coming players play Shimmer and Cognition, but I don't know. I don't think it's an outstanding stepping stone because, like I said, basically every tier after tier 32 is necessary to get better, steadily at least. Um, I don't know. There just really aren't any super outstanding levels in this tier. And a lot of the ones that are like good are kind of overrated in my opinion in terms of quality. Like the Ocean of Fish is just a level that I have never understood the hype around personally. Like I get it to some extent, but and Amalgam is another one. I don't know. I think tier 33 honestly might go like I might put tier 33. No, it's too important progression wise for me to put it in D tier. I think it'll go here. I think it'll go there solely on the basis of the levels that the tier currently has, because a lot of the levels that I thought of as good tier 33s were apparently either bumped up or bumped down from whenever I remembered them being 33s. And I think that there's some significance to that. But I do think that it has a lot of potential as a tier. Okay, tier 34. This is the tier where we start to enter extended list territory, but there are also a lot of levels that have been off the list for a good while in this tier. Let's see here. There's Sky Shredder, there's Goober Rage Stage, Esphera, Glungus Adventures is apparently in this tier, Dissonance, Lotus Flower, which I really like, Iris, which I think is okay, Cold Sweat, which I also really like. Renavant is in this tier. Beeline is apparently in this tier, which is kind of surprising. Thinking Space, Calculator Core, Atomic Cannon Mark II, which is definitely the best level in that series thus far. Kinos, Zodiac, Hard Machine, Swing Swing. Yeah, this is definitely a better tier in terms of the levels in it than tier 33, and you do seem to agree with that. I don't think I'm putting it above tier 32, nor do I think I'm putting it in A. I do think that I'm okay with this tier going here. I think I'm good with it in high B tier. Hmm. $35. What else in 35? I'm pretty sure Unknown, Tartarus, Oblivion, and Truthfit are also all in this tier. Yeah, they are. Starlit Stroll is in this tier. Natural Disaster, Wobbling Machine, Disconnect, Waterfall, Vibrant UFO, Paranoia, Shiketsu, the Golden. Okay, this tier is a lot more substantial than I thought. Coalescence, Sonic Wave Infinity. So the entirety of the second RGB is in this tier, along with Shiketsu, Atomic Cannon Mark III, Verdant Landscape, and a lot of other levels that are very important to people's progressions. You bumped 35 all the way up to S tier. I can see that from a progression standpoint. I was very wrong. I think for progression's sake alone, and for historical significance to the game, I might put this at the bottom of A. I don't think that any of the levels in this tier are outstanding as incredible levels. I do think that there are a lot of good ones, though, like Starlit Stroll. Tartarus is a level that I actually like quite a bit. Atomic Cannon Mark III is okay. Verdant Landscape is good. Void is pretty alright. I like Paranoia. I like Spirit Overclock quite a bit, actually. You think 34 and 35 are the best back-to-back tier pairing? I can kind of see that. I did kind of put those are kind of the highest average of any of my back-to-back tiers also, other than 27 and 28. I kind of do think 27 to 28 is the best like back-to-back tier pairing. Other than like I don't know. I think it is just 27 to 28 for me. But we are at tier 36. I think tier 36 is a tier that has a lot of potential and just happens to be full of a lot of shit levels right now. Like, what all's in tier 26? Damascus and Sinister Silence are like kind of the two best levels in the tier, and that says a lot. The Plunge is okay. Gagatronda is a death sentence to your eyes. The Jet Engine's okay. And other than that, it's just all underwhelming. Walter White's okay. Like, there is just an entire consecutive tier of levels here that make me feel absolutely nothing, and it's just staying at the bottom for that reason. Like, it is just the tier with no levels at all that I look at and go, wow, I'd really like to play that. It's the only one, the only tier that has 0 levels that I would like to play. Right now, at least. With that said, tier 37 is in a pretty similar spot. It's also just full of not great levels. I know you're playing Firework, and that level just isn't too interesting to me. Nerve Hell is a level that exists, I guess. Saul Goodman is a level that exists, I guess. Kosetsu is a level that exists. Like, all of these are also just not great. Deadlier Clubstep is meh. I genuinely think, and this is saying a lot, that if I were to play any level in tier 37 right now, I would be picking between Minus Dry and Mayhem, maybe 7th Clubstep, and maybe Limbo. That's about it. I don't think I'm putting tier 37 above, like... You have 5 tier 35s beaten and a tier 35 is your hardest? Yeah, exactly. I think that's like the only reason why it's an A tier. I don't like adore any level in that tier, even if I want to beat both Unknown and Tartarus on the basis of like them being stylistically reminiscent of like levels I think are cool, and Unknown having a song that I like. Yeah, I think tier 37 is going to be another spot with a lot of disagreement for us, in the sense that you put it at the bottom of A, and I think I'm putting it in C. I'm putting it in D, actually. I think I'm putting it like here. I think it's genuinely staying there. And then tier 38 is, I think, the only GDDL tier that takes up 1 page on a computer, but I could be wrong. Let me just double check real quick. No, it has 18 levels now. That's my bad. But I do think tier 18 has better levels, or 18. Tier 38 has better levels than tiers 36 and 37. My big inspirations for saying that being based after based, Menace, and yeah, basically those two. Like, both of those are levels that I would like to beat, I think. Eyes in the Water is okay. I thought the Lightning Rod was in this tier. Oh, the Lightning Rod is in this tier. And that's a level that I like at least a little bit more than like tier 36 and 37s, but I still wouldn't be super inspired to play. Yeah, I think tier 38. Just on the basis of like a ninth of the entire tier having appeal to me is like levels I would like to play. That's kind of more than I can say for just about any tier that's even like up to here. I also just don't think that. I mean, there are a lot of people jumping to levels in tier 38, and by levels in tier 38, I mean Sakupin Circles and Slaughterhouse. But I don't know. I think tier 38 for me. I just can't defend it being higher than like bottom of B tier on the basis of progression alone, really. And on the basis of a lot of the levels in it being really bad. Like Tunnel of Despair is bad. Its Hybrids Deimos is bad. Spectre is like not bad per se, but I don't like it. Cosmos is a bad level. Even though some people seem to be taking more of a liking to it lately. Subterminal Point is very meh. I don't want it above tier 19. I think I'm okay putting it there. And tier 39 is very, very contentious for me because like the floor of this tier is another level that I would very, very ambitiously want as my final hardest, and that is Acheron. I like Acheron. I like a few of the levels in this tier, actually. I like Boobawamba. I like Nullscapes. Society's pretty alright. Hyuki's a good level. And for as much hate as I've been seeing it getting, Green Bullet is a pretty... Oh, I completely agree that Kyuki and AOD should be 38. I think Acheron should be the easiest level in tier 39. But, I mean, Anathema's alright. It's not verified and rated yet, but I like Glass Chapel. Same is true for Echo, but I don't think that level's like ever getting verified. I agree with you putting tier 39 above 38. I just don't know that I would put tier 39 in B tier. I think I might put tier 39 like here. Yeah, I think I'm putting it there. Do you find it shocking? I don't know. I don't hate it, but I just don't like. I don't know. That level is just a little too blurry for me in the sense of like what it does, I guess. Like, it's better than most levels of that difficulty, but I don't know. I'm just not the most fond of most things that that level's gameplay does. And I think that the decoration to it starts to sort of exhaust itself on me after a little while. Like, there's so many parts in that level that just look like everything in 2.1 ever, and then there are some parts that stand out a little bit, but even the parts that stand out a little bit aren't really exceptional in any way. Like, I feel like it's, I don't know. I just think of it as one of those levels that does a fine job at being like a steady and semi memorable level that's just way too hard for what it does. Like, I feel like for a level to be its difficulty and be good, it kind of has to earn its difficulty with the things that it accomplishes with its gameplay. At least that's a thing for me. And I just don't feel like Deimos does that for me. But maybe I stand alone in that opinion. Let's see here. Looking at this, do I think anything should really change? I think 20 should be top of A. I don't think it should be NS. Other than that, I don't know. Looking at this, I think that I might have been a little bit harsh. On tier 14. No, not really. No, I feel like this is fine. I was maybe harsh on tier 21. And I was maybe harsh on tier 19. Those are kind of the only two that I'm eyeing, but I think I'm more saying that from a perspective of like levels that I'm remembering than them as progression points, and that was a kind of a criterion for me putting like GDDL tiers and A or S tiers, them also being important progression tiers. So I think I'm happy with this tier list as it is, with that in mind. So I believe I will save this. And I believe I will post it in the Discord. Am I stupid? There we go. Yeah, that's my tier list. I apparently spent more than 2 hours on it. But I posted it. Yeah, I understand bumping tier 37 down. I mean, obviously I do. I put it in D tier. But I don't know. I think that basically the levels you named are about it for the tier. And I don't even really like hold those levels very fondly. I think they're just levels I find acceptable. But yeah, I think that's this tier list. That took a lot longer than I thought it would. I was expecting that to take like an hour, hour and a half. I've been at this for more than 2 hours now, and I haven't eaten dinner yet. So Voltage is also good. I think, well, not good, but I think it's better than most things in the tier. But, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to end stream now. I think that went pretty alright. I think I'm happy with this tier list, and I think that, I don't know. I'll probably go live again next whenever I start learning Trick Room. I will be beating input code this week. I'm definitely going to beat it this week. I'm probably going to play it after I eat dinner. But, yeah. You have a good night too, Tint. And I think Howdy might also be here still. But, yeah. I'll probably join a VC after I eat dinner if you are here, Howdy. And I'll see y'all.